Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, welcome to the podcast. I hope you're well, and hopefully you have seen some of the info on social media about our Sober Club 5th birthday. Literally, we're going to be 5. Can't believe it. Amazing. In September. And we've teamed up with Club Claritee. You know, why reinvent the wheel? They do amazing party nights. So we've teamed up with Club Claritee, and the tickets are on sale now for our event, which is a kind of joint venture in London at the iconic W Bar Hotel in Wardour Street. And it's Wednesday, the 18th of September. So Club Claritee have got more than one event. But if you want to come to the Sober Club celebration, then please do come along on Wednesday, the 18th. Tickets are very inexpensive. And it would just be so great to have lots of podcast listeners there, Sober Club members. We're going to have lots of fun. They've got a DJ and all kinds of stuff going down. We'll take a little bit of time at the beginning to have a little bit of a Sober Club celebration as well. So I really hope you can make it Wednesday, 18th of September. For those of you who really can't make it to London, then if you're a Sober Club member, we're going to have stuff online as well, because, you know, got to do a big celebration, right? It's incredible. 5 years. Amazing. I remember when I first thought about the Sober Club, and I did my TEDx talk, Sobriety Rocks, Who Knew? If you haven't watched that TEDx talk, give it a watch and give it a like, please, on YouTube. And I had completely forgotten, in all my kind of run up to doing the TED talk, I'd completely forgotten that there was going to be an audience present. I'd been thinking about the camera, obviously, and the fact that it's going to be broadcast and watched by, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. But I'd forgotten that there was an audience. And you know, of course, suddenly I remembered, here I am in this theatre, and there were kind of, I don't know, 250, 300 people in the room. And I suddenly realised, oh my goodness, you know, these people are really important as well as those on camera. And actually, I felt almost more nervous speaking directly to them. It was something that I hadn't really spoken about in public before I did my TEDx talk. I'd only been sober for, I think it's about eight months when I did that talk, or maybe it was a year. I forget. Anyways, it was actually a year and a half. So, but I still hadn't spoken to that much about it. And so in the break, I did my talk. I think I might have even been first on at that event. I mean, talk about throwing me into the deep end. And then we had a coffee break, and I was really surprised. It was the first time I'd spoken publicly about this, and several people came up to me and kind of took me aside and said, I just wanted to tell you that really resonated with me, and you were literally talking to me. That's how I feel. I feel completely isolated. I'm waking up at 3 a.m, you know, worried about how much I'm drinking. I can't seem to get free from the alcohol trap, but I'm not at rock bottom. And I didn't know that anyone else felt the same way. And I don't know how to connect with anyone else who feels like that. You know, can I take your number? Can we connect or whatever? And that's when I thought, wow, I have to put something together here. I have to create a community where people can connect who are like-minded, but also to look at the well-being, the whole well-being piece, the whole holistic picture, which has always been, you know, so much part of what I do. I find it very difficult to separate pieces off. Now I really believe that it's the holistic picture that's important. And of course you need sobriety underpinning it before you can live your best life. How could you really live authentically, and focus on health and well-being without that foundational piece? Of course, I didn't realize that 7 years ago. I thought it was fine just to step around the elephant in the room that was booze. But now I realize it's the foundation that underpins it. And, you know, there are lots of people listening to this podcast I know who, just like me, are really, for many years, have really been careful about everything. They've really focused on holistic living. You know, they do the yoga, they buy the organic food, they get the skincare without chemicals, they care about the environment. You know, they're really focused on what they think of as the holistic picture, just as I was. And yet there's this one massive issue within it all. And, you know, it's not okay. It's not just your little, you know, imperfection, as I used to think. it's literally the missing link to, being able to live your best life. So anyways, that's why I started the Sober Club. And I figured, well, you know what, I'll do a kind of a little beta version. I'll make it really cheap. I'll just open it up and see if we get a few members, and I'll just run it for a couple of months and just see what happens. And, it took off. It's not huge. The Sober Club is not one of those big communities where you get kind of lost. It's actually a fairly small community, and we all are totally cheerleaders for each other. We really are, even though we have members who are day one and sober curious, and we have people who've been sober for 10, 15 years. That's why it works, because we're all focused on something. And it's amazing to have people ahead of you and people behind you on whatever it is you're looking to do, next, whatever bit of personal growth you're thinking of next. So if you haven't thought about it before, do join us in the Sober Club. And in any case, come and join us for this event on Wednesday the 18th if you can. If you go to thesoberclub.com/events, you'll find the ticket information there, or click on the link in the show notes to this podcast, or check out the posts on Instagram at Janey Grace, and you'll see the post there with Club Claritee. It'd be fantastic to see you. Also, there'll be another Family Constellations coming up, probably early September, probably in York, but register your interest if that's something that does interest you. That relates very much to what we're going to be talking about this week, actually. This week's show is slightly different because what happened was this came about. There's a topic that I just really wanted to talk about, and I wasn't quite sure what angle I was going to take on it. And I got, it's funny how things always kind of come in twos and threes, don't they? But I had messages one was from a Sober Club member, one was from a podcast listener, who both had really difficult, really very tricky situations going on that had really triggered them to go back to drinking in one case and just continue to drink, not be able to kind of face the idea of stopping, because they were suffering grief in one case from a family member who had passed away, and the other message was from someone who was living with the incredibly difficult situation of a best friend who's going through extreme illness linked to alcohol, right? This is the piece that kind of sets this aside. So it's this whole thing of, okay, so maybe you've got your own stuff going on with alcohol, but in addition to that, you've got a family member, or you've got a close friend, or even a partner who has even more, in inverted commas, serious issues around alcohol than you do. And perhaps it's even causing it's literally going to be the end for them, and it's literally down to alcohol. And the acceptance of that is, the awareness is huge, and the acceptance is incredibly challenging. And so I was thinking about what could I share, on this topic. Funnily enough, I was looking at some of Brené Brown's work. Her stuff is amazing. We know that. And she's got some wonderful quotes, which I'm going to share a few during this podcast. There's a real skill, isn't there, in being able to sum up so much in one quote. But she really does do it beautifully. So I wanted to share a few of those quotes, and just maybe talk a little bit about some of the things that you might want to think about in terms of compassion and empathy, but also boundaries, all of those pieces. And just as I was thinking about how can I share some of this with you on a podcast, I did an interview for my the other show that I do, my show on UK Health Radio, with Sonja Grace, who has been on the podcast before. She's an energy healer, fascinating woman and author, and she's written a new book called Spirit Traveller, about ancient sites, about the ancient wisdom from various sites around the world. So I recorded that interview for my other show. It's not the stuff, the content is not relevant for this podcast. However, at the beginning of that interview, we got chatting, and Sonja shared with me a very personal experience that is exactly what I had been thinking about sharing with you. So I thought, okay, let's share that piece with you. And then I'll share a few more thoughts. So this is an extract from the interview with Sonja Grace. Sonja, thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to be chatting to you, because I mean, the last time we spoke, my goodness, it was like I felt like I could speak to you for hours on end. But now, of course, you have a new book out, Spirit Traveller, Unlocking More Mysteries of Ancient Sites Around the World. And I mean, that's a topic I've never looked into. So really, really fascinating. We're looking forward to chatting about that. But let's just start with something that feels very important at the moment. You were telling me in an email about a relative. Tell us a bit more about that, 'cause I think it's very poignant for our audience.
Sure, and I imagine that the majority of your audience is, they're sober, they're experiencing some kind of sobriety, and I have 43 years of sobriety, so
Amazing.
I'm dealing with a relative of mine who's in a hospital in another country, dying of late stage alcoholism, and
Wow.
it's funny. I really wanted to share this with your listeners because even though, you're working hard and you're dealing with yourself and your own process every day, there's the family aspect. There's the
Yeah.
family pod of which we came from, and how important that is that we keep all of this stuff connected inside of us. We keep our process clear as we navigate and deal with other, people in our lives who are not healthy yet, who have not hit bottom and found their own inner peace.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder. I feel very moved this morning, given where this is going and how bad the damage is. I mean, we're talking brain damage.
Wow.
And
I mean, it's such a difficult one, isn't it? Because we can't, become preachy, can we? And we
no,
can't evangelize, really. We can only take care of ourselves and
that's
hope
right.
that shines a light for others. But of course, it
And
doesn't always.
and to be the observer, to really observe someone else's process and respect that that's karmically what they need to go through, and not try to somehow, get in there and
Yeah.
create an awareness, because most alcoholics and most people who are still practicing alcoholics don't think they have a problem.
Mm.
A, and B, they don't want the world to know that they're an alcoholic. They don't want anyone to think that about them. So then there's sort of this false ego that protects them. Oh no, I'm fine. Oh, I
Mm.
only had two. There's all this negotiating that goes on.
Yeah.
And for my family member, it's like there was no hitting bottom. There was just an ambulance to the hospital. And
Right.
it's sad to me
What
because
you mean when you say that, you mean there hadn't been lots of warnings along the way. It was just relatively
there's
sudden.
been tons of
Oh,
warnings,
okay.
tons of warnings, falling, head injury,
Oh, okay.
eye
Right.
injury, falling down escalators. I mean, all kinds of warnings,
Right.
ones that you would think we would
Would
go,
make a
okay, I
change.
really
Yeah.
need to do something. Yeah.
Mm.
But no, no. So it's I really wanted to share this, not because of the hard side of this story, but to inspire your listeners. Make peace with your family. Oh my God, it makes me cry.
Mm.
Really, we
Mm.
need to make peace with our families,
Yeah.
because this particular family member, 2 out of 3 of her kids, they don't want anything to do with her.
Wow.
They refuse to go see her, nothing. So I'm reminded again how
Mm.
important it is, if we are going to practice forgiveness, that we do it now in
Yeah.
this lifetime, not when we're on the other side, where I see all the spirits and people who have passed telling me, oh, can you tell so and so to please, I'm so sorry, and please ask
Yeah.
them to forgive me. And there we are on the other side, trying to do the work we should be doing here.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned the last time I spoke to you that I host family constellations workshops, and
Hmm.
it's always so amazing to see the incredible changes. Just one short session, and people can realize, okay, so that angst that I've been holding, that anger, you know,
Yeah.
I can let it go. I can let go. I can hand it back. You can hand back what isn't yours to carry, and that's so unbelievably freeing, isn't it, to be able to do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even talking to the doctor, I gently reminded the doctor, I said, I think it's really important to remember that the person is not the alcohol. The alcoholism is the
Absolutely.
disease.
Absolutely.
It's not the person.
No.
Because
It's the alcohol that's
there
addictive.
wasn't an outwardly spoken kind of vibe, but there was a vibe there of, definite criticism and, judgment. And I'm like, can we please back up and remember this person is a good person? It's unfortunate that this disease has now taken them.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember it's the alcohol that's addictive. And,
That's right.
we need to find a way that it's not promoted and glamorized,
Yes,
right? Which it certainly
exactly.
is in the
Exactly.
UK. I mean, the glamorization of alcohol is just incredible. It's literally on the,
Hmm.
the lack of congruence is incredible. You've literally got adverts everywhere you turn,
That's
particularly for
right.
women to be
Hmm.
drinking, and then banged up against an article about, oh, this is bad for you. It's there's no congruence there. It's very difficult.
No, and
Yeah.
the one aspect that's not talked about a lot with alcohol is, right now in England, in the US, all over the world, we're in a crisis. We're in a health crisis. The CDC in the US now reports 1 out of 2 women will experience cancer in their
Mm.
lifetime.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
out of 3 men will experience
Yeah.
cancer.
But they're not making the link with alcohol. They're not making the link.
They're not. And the amount of sugar that's in alcohol and how damaging sugar can be when you are dealing with cancer.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate
Yeah.
because we get the same advertisements here, and it's, everything, movies, all kinds of media coming in that gives the message it's cool to drink.
Mm. Yeah.
And I mean, I've been rowing this boat for a long time, and I can tell you in long-term sobriety, it's no longer for me about, oh, I really want to have a drink or I want to do something that's sort of self-destructive. For me, it is navigating a world that is built on addiction.
Mm.
It's navigating, okay, I'm not in that addiction cycle anymore. So I now have to navigate people and places and restaurants and wherever I go with this bombardment of what I feel is a much broader addiction.
Yeah.
We're addicted to the internet, television, our phones, we're addicted to texting, we're addicted to porn, alcohol, drugs, you name it,
Yeah.
gaming, we're addicted. And that is what's not getting addressed along with alcoholism. That's not getting addressed.
No,
It's only
absolutely.
being perpetuated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally. So I really appreciated that very honest scenario, really. And as I said before, it kind of got me thinking about this topic because there's been a couple of people contacted me recently. I wanted to share this great quote from Brené Brown, who said, empathy is not connecting to an experience. It's connecting to the emotions that underpin an experience. There's a very subtle difference there, isn't there? And I really thought that was an amazing quote. And I think that's what it's really great to be able to focus on, is how we can strive to connect with emotions of the people that we're trying to support, offer that love, offer that support without judgment. It's really important if you do have a family member or a close friend who, has got this kind of thing going on. It's so challenging. It's so emotional. And we have to bring in the compassion, the empathy, the care, both for them and for ourselves. And if you're in the early stages of sobriety yourself, this can be really difficult. There has to be, healthy boundaries put in place, but you've also got to leave space to be able to celebrate your own journey and your own gift of sobriety. This sounds so easy to say and not so easy to do, but it's that the idea of being able to be present and supportive in a way that honors you and also honors them. So I think something that Sonja said in that little piece is really important. It's the understanding that alcohol is the demon here. Alcohol is the cause. We can't be judgmental of the person. We really can't. We have to acknowledge their pain and their struggle without condemning them for their choices. But part of this, and again, Sonja mentioned this, is keeping your own process clear. So maintaining your own sobriety, right? It's not there's no way that you can be supportive, understanding and supportive of someone else who's going through serious illness through alcohol abuse by drinking your emotions away, right? So it's so important that you surround yourself with supportive people who understand your journey and take care of yourself. It's that cliche, you can't pour from an empty cup. You really can't. Self-care is actually essential. But then, of course, that brings us on to the other thing that I've had lots of people ask me. Well, how do I support someone without enabling? And that's a really tricky one. I've done podcasts in the past where we talk about what it's like to be the partner of someone who is, really, really at rock bottom, or the child of an alcoholic parent. We've done a few podcasts on these topics, and there's always very difficult issues around what could be thought of as enabling the destructive behavior. I can't tell you how to handle it. It's too complex, isn't it? But you have to find a way of offering support without enabling destructive behavior. And that comes from being able to set healthy boundaries that protect your own well-being. So we've got to offer the love and the encouragement, but not, avoid the actions that are going to facilitate more of a problem. And also I think we have to honor everyone's journey, and respect someone else's path, even if it doesn't align with what we'd hoped for. That quote again from Brené Brown: empathy is not connecting to an experience, it's connecting to the emotions that underpin an experience. So that's about connecting to the feelings, right? Even if we can't fully understand the experience. And then the other quote from Brené Brown that I wanted to share, I told you this was the Brené Brown week. This other quote that I found, she said, "You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness." That's a good one, isn't it, as well? And then here's another one. Compassion. I wish I could interview her, wouldn't that be great? Compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. Again, that's a really good way of thinking about compassion and empathy. And just that acceptance, really, understanding and acceptance. And I said this links to family constellations, and I think that's because, as Sonja said in that piece, making peace with your family, making peace with your the people that are close to you or were close to you is so important. Strengthening family bonds, just acknowledging, even if you're, for whatever reason, you are not involved in your family's life, even if for whatever reason you don't like them, you don't get on. And we don't choose our families, right? But whether you do or not, I think being able to honor where you came from is really important, because the forgiveness piece can be absolutely liberating. And when we hold on to the resentment and the anger, it just perpetuates the pain for us. So forgiveness is a big one. We've done a podcast on forgiveness, and I'd like to do another one. I've got a great expert actually coming up on that. But one of the things that we do in family constellations is we allow ourselves to be able to acknowledge and honor our family of origin, our parents. We all have parents, whether we know them or not, and we can honor them, but we can hand back what is not ours to carry. And that's the really, really powerful piece of family constellations. So if you get an opportunity to come and do one of our workshops, I really hope you'll think about it. It's so interesting that, when we do these workshops, we see such incredible pieces of work, and we see people who have been carrying these kind of limiting beliefs and blocks and carrying so much angst for so many years. And in one short little piece of work, everything changes when they get a different perspective and they're able to recognize, well, hold on, I've been carrying something that isn't mine to carry. I had probably, in many cases, we probably have to adjust to whatever, particularly in the formative years, up to the age of 7, we have to adjust to whatever's going on, but we don't have the language to be able to deal with it. So we just have to kind of mold ourselves into whatever we have to become. And that's where we can, in those early years, that's where we form these beliefs. And anything that doesn't really serve us just gets kind of absorbed until we're able to face it and change it, really. And that's the really amazing work that we do with constellations and with the coaching that I do with matrix reimprinting. It's just amazing how we can literally take something, we can actually find the root of what's going on and what's been holding you back. Because we all know, don't we, sometimes we react badly, seemingly for no good reason. And many of us that have been drinkers, we drink because we want relief, right? We reach for a drink because we think it gives us relief from some kind of pain that we're carrying, whether that's the trauma with a big T or trauma with a little t, it's all pain. And stuff will trigger that pain. Lots and lots of things will trigger it. That's why, we're all so fascinating as humans, aren't we? Because we all deal with stuff differently. We've all got different triggers. Something that upsets me will not upset you. And sometimes as we grow, we're able to kind of put the pause in and step back and see, okay, hold on a minute then. That was a really intense overreaction there. I just completely overreacted to something that maybe other people wouldn't. So what's really going on? Has that actually triggered something that perhaps was instilled in me from a very early age? And when we can recognize that, we can work with it, we can release it, we can recognize that the answer will not be in a bottle. It can never be in a bottle. Of course, we don't always know that, do we? We're going through lots of years where we simply reach for something that we think will give us a quick fix until we finally realize that actually it just makes everything worse. Anyways, I hope that might have been vaguely helpful for some of you. If you're going through some difficult stuff, I suppose it's just a case of be hopeful that, we've all got stuff, and, there's lots of ways we can get to release it. But without any shadow of a doubt, getting free from the alcohol trap will always be what underpins that personal growth. So if you can get along to a constellations, I really hope you will. Drop me a message if you're interested, and then we'll let you know when the next one is set up. We can also do online stuff. We can work. We even do one-to-one sessions. It works brilliantly, actually. So make sure you follow me on social media at Janey Grace, and don't forget, if you're doing this in your early days, tell someone. Just reach out. You can always message me. I'm very good at replying to messages. I'll do the best I can. So reach out if you if you're doing this hard thing, and pat yourself on the back. And if you're a few months in and you're feeling great, you can let me know that as well. I love getting messages from people saying, really loving the podcast, and I'm 4 weeks sober or whatever. It's always fantastic to hear. Don't forget to book your tickets for that event. And just an aside, just in case there is anybody listening to this who is further down the line, you've ditched the booze and you're now thinking, I would really love to support other people, then my holistic sober coach training is a fantastic way to do that, to learn a whole bunch of amazing skills, underpins all of your personal transformation, and equips you to work with people who are drinking more than they want to. Not those at rock bottom, but those who are, just as we were, wishing that they were not in the alcohol trap. But we do it in a very holistic way. So it brings in all kinds of pieces of the holistic picture. It's much more than, in inverted commas, just not drinking. So our next training, the next one is full, and the one after that we're booking for January the 25th is the beginning of the course, because we do a couple of days in person where a lot of the transformation happens, and it's amazing. But it can be done online, and then that's followed with a few weeks online. So if it's of interest to you, drop me a message. It's purely by invitation, because the energy has to feel completely right. And I appreciate that's not for most of you listening, but I just wanted to mention it because, lots of people listen to the podcast who have been sober for absolutely ages. And now they're starting to think, wow, maybe I could help someone. One of the really interesting things, and I'm sure some of you have noticed it, is that when you start to feel better, when you've stopped drinking, when you are on a different path and you really are into this personal growth kind of phase, what's amazing is your energy changes and people start approaching you and coming up to you and saying, oh, actually, I want some of what she's having. It's that vibe, isn't it? It's kind of, actually, could you help me? Because I've seen how you've changed. And it really is amazing how we shine this kind of light. And I fully appreciate it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes we just get hit with the sober shamers who don't want to invite us out anymore. You get some of that too. But often the light that we shine kind of attracts people to us. And that can often be the time when people start to think, wow, actually, I would love to be able to support people, to know what I know now, to support people to just feel the way I feel. So anyways, drop me a message if that's you. Either way, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Do come and join us in the Sober Club. It's thesoberclub.com. We would love to have you as a member. You can sign up to my Substack as well. You can buy me a coffee if you want. buymeacoffee.com/Janey Lee Grace. I think it's that. And don't forget as well, my book tour in October. I need to share some of the dates with you, but I'm going to be doing a book tour to when my memoir comes out. I would so love to have loads of podcast listeners and Sober Club members at the bookshop events. They won't know what's hit them. We definitely have to get some alcohol-free drinks in, right? So I look forward to seeing you there at one of the events anyway. I'll see you same time next week. Follow me on social media. Have a fantastic week. And if you're doing this, give yourself a massive hug. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.